Welcome back, creeps. I hope you're ready for some spooky tales. Thanks again to those of you who have rated the show or left a positive comment. I really appreciate the support. I'm using a different microphone for this week's stories, so let me know if you prefer the sound compared to previous episodes. Now, let's head into our first tale of the night. Many of us know the nerves of moving into a new dorm or apartment, and the uneasy question of who we'll be sharing that space with. Roommate horror stories are practically a rite of passage. But the one you're about to hear goes far beyond bad habits or awkward small talk. I don't know where else to post this. I was going to post it in the dorm Facebook group, but that doesn't feel safe. I thought about texting my RA, but she's not even here right now. And if I call my parents, they'll tell me it's just stress. So I'm dumping it here, because at least if something happens, maybe someone will know what was going on. This is kind of long, but I swear I'm not exaggerating or making it up. I moved into the dorms last Sunday. It was classic college move-in chaos. Parking lot traffic, lots of people crying, and parents trying to steal one last hug. I was sweating buckets carrying my suitcases up 3 flights of stairs. When I got to my floor, the first thing I noticed was the door across the hall. The RA had left a note taped up, written in one of those really thick Sharpies. Ran home for family emergency. Text me if you need anything. Jess. There was even a little smiley face heart. I felt it was kind of weird that on my very first day at school, the person that was supposed to help me move in was just not there. But whatever. When I checked in, I was told there'd been a mix-up with my housing assignment. I had gotten an email several weeks before that I was sharing the room with a girl named Danielle, but now she had been moved to another building. So, a solo room for me? I asked. The woman laughed. Looks like it for now. You probably have a few days until they shuffle someone else in. Honestly, it sounded like a dream. On day 2, I'd just gotten back from buying way too many command hooks when I saw a girl standing at my door. She was holding a key. "Hi, Kelly," she said. "I'm your roommate." She didn't say I'm your new roommate or they just reassigned me here. Just, I'm your roommate. She told me her name, and I must have looked confused because she tilted her head and repeated it, slower. The weirdest part was that she had just one duffel bag. That was it. No mini fridge, no shower caddy, no posters or textbooks. She didn't even really set up her side of the room. She just folded her clothes into a few neat piles and sat down on the bed. I figured she was just one of those minimalist types. The first night, I woke up around 3 a.m., and when I rolled over, she was sitting upright in her bed, staring at me. She wasn't looking at her phone or staring at the wall. She was staring at me. Her lips were moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. Maybe a prayer? I pulled my blanket over my head and eventually fell back asleep. Next morning, I asked if that had been real or if I was just having a nightmare. "I don't really sleep," she said. "Yeah, I noticed," I tried to joke. She just smiled. On day 4, I realized that she didn't go to class. I would leave in the morning, come back in the afternoon, and she'd still be there. in the same spot. I figured she was watching something on her laptop, but when I walked behind her, I realized the screen was just her desktop. She didn't have any apps open. On day 5, she started humming. She would sit there humming while I was at my desk or while I brushed my teeth. She even kept doing it while I was FaceTiming my mom. I asked her what the song was, and she looked at me and said, "I heard you hum it first." I swear I was trying to be chill, but things were adding up. I'd leave a pen on my desk, come back, and it would be placed perfectly parallel to the edge. I would toss my shoes on the floor, and later find them neatly lined up by the door. I also realized that she would always know where I was headed. She would say things like, "Have fun in psych," even though I never told her my schedule. One day, she asked me if I knew how much I talked in my sleep. I said I had never gotten that before, but she smiled and said, "You say such interesting things." The next night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to what sounded like fabric tearing. When I opened my eyes, she was standing in the middle of the room, back turned, twisting her head side to side like she was cracking her neck. When she noticed I was awake, she abruptly stopped and whispered, "Go back to sleep." This morning, I had a scheduled Zoom meeting with my counselor, just a normal check-in to see how I've been adjusting. We talked about homesickness, time management. Then she smiled and asked, "How do you like having a room to yourself?" I chuckled awkwardly. "Oh, that was just for one day. I got a roommate after all." The counselor's expression changed. "That's so strange." She glanced down at her notes. "I'm looking at your file right now, and you're listed as a single." "I guess that's not up to date," I said as I forced a nervous laugh. "She's right here." The counselor shook her head. That's when I looked up from my laptop. My roommate was sitting across from me at her desk, with her chin propped in her hands, just staring. She hasn't moved for over an hour. She's just sitting there, staring at me as I type this. I'm trying to pretend that I don't notice, but I know my hands are shaking. I have no idea who she is. I don't know how she has a key or why she's here. But the RA isn't back yet, and I don't want to be alone in the hallway at night. So I'm just writing this now, in case I'm not here tomorrow. I'm taking an Intro to Sociology course this semester. It's all online. It's a pretty big class, with maybe 70 kids, and a professor who still hasn't figured out how to unmute herself half the time. For the first week, we all had our cameras on because she wanted to build a community. After that, almost everyone stopped. You know how it goes. A mix of black boxes, people's initials, random profile pictures or memes. Except for one girl. Every class, she's there in the gallery view. She has perfect posture, hair down around her shoulders, and a polite smile frozen on her face. She never says anything. She never reacts. She just smiles. At first I thought it was a picture, but sometimes her head would tilt slightly, and occasionally I would catch her blinking. But that was it. During the second week, the professor tried to call on her during a discussion. "And what do you think about that, Emily?" Nothing. She just kept smiling at the camera. The silence went on for so long that it got uncomfortable. Finally, the professor said, "Maybe she's muted or she can't hear me." And she called on someone else. A few classes later, she tried the same thing. She called on that girl again. And nothing. There was no flicker, no shifting. Just that smile. By the following week, people started making jokes in the chat. "She's just an NPC or a glitch in the Matrix." Other people insisted it must be a screenshot that she uploaded to try and fake participation. Yesterday, we had a breakout discussion with 5 students per room. And guess who was in mine? At first, none of us talked. We just stared at her little box. Eventually, I said, "Hey, Emily, you there?" She didn't respond. "Do you guys hear that?" one of the other students said. It was a faint whispering sound, kind of like radio static. The border around her picture was lighting up, which meant the sound was coming from her. At first I assumed it was her mic glitching, but then the words started to become more clear. She was just listing things. Names. Dates. Then she said my name, and today's date. One of the others in the group left the breakout room, and another muted themselves. I found myself staring at her on the screen. Her smile was wider after she said my name. Then suddenly, she was gone. When we returned from the breakout session, she was no longer in the participant list at all. I emailed the professor asking if she knew what was up with Emily, and the reply came this morning. "I'm not sure what you mean. That student withdrew from the class before the semester began." Amanda is my brother's girlfriend. At the time of this story, she was about to start her junior year of college and wanted to live off campus instead of dealing with dorm life again. She wasn't ready to move in with my brother. They'd only been dating a few months, so she started looking for roommates online. On Craigslist, she found an ad titled something like, "Roommate Wanted, Females Only." It was pretty normal for the area, since a lot of college girls preferred not to live with guys. The listing sounded almost too good to be true. It was a very affordable room in a house near campus, with a private bathroom attached. The current tenant described herself as a 23-year-old student who wasn't comfortable living with boys. Amanda thought the situation sounded perfect, except the ad only had one photo, which showed the house from the street. Still, she sent an email, and within half an hour she got a reply with details. The roommate said she worked late and couldn't meet until after 8 p.m., but the landlord would be there to show her around if she wanted to go by. When Amanda pulled up, the house looked fine at first glance, though she noticed the tall grass and weeds and dusty windows. When she got to the front door, she found a handwritten note. "Door broken. Please come to back." Amanda circled to the back door and knocked. A man answered who was unshaven and probably in his mid-40s, with wrinkled clothes. He smiled and introduced himself as the landlord. He mentioned the tenant was working late, but that she told him that Amanda was coming. Something felt off right away. The only light on was in the kitchen. The place looked abandoned. No furniture anywhere, just empty rooms. He rushed her through the tour, switching lights on and off quickly as if he didn't want her looking around too closely. There was one closed door, and Amanda asked about it. The landlord stiffened up. "That's the tenant's room," he said. "I don't want to invade her privacy." Shortly after is when she noticed another red flag. From the inside, the front door had a plank nailed across it. Amanda was more than ready to get out. She thanked him and started toward the back door, but he suddenly said, "You haven't seen the basement yet? We just finished it up. It's got a great rec room for parties." He turned to a small hallway near the back of the kitchen. When he opened the basement door, it swung outward, blocking Amanda's path toward the exit. And beyond that doorway was total blackness. Ladies first. At that exact moment, Amanda's phone buzzed. By sheer luck, someone was parking across the street, and the headlights spilled in across the windows. Thinking fast, Amanda pretended to answer a call. "Hey, are you here?" "Yeah, I'll come around and let you in. It's great, you have to see it." With forced confidence, she slipped past the man and out the back door, and then she booked it to her car. As she drove away, she saw him standing in the doorway, just watching. She told my brother and her mom everything that happened when she got home. They called the police, but when they went back to pull up the Craigslist ad, it was gone. The house, it turned out, had been foreclosed and abandoned for months. There was no tenant, and there was no landlord. The private room the man refused to let her see was where he had been squatting. There were dirty blankets, rotten food, and gallon jugs. The walls were plastered floor to ceiling with ripped-out pages from old porn magazines. But the basement was worse. Police found a thin strand of fishing line stretched across the stairs at shin level. A trip wire. In the corner, there was a broom handle wrapped with leather belts, along with a small box filled with various kinds of tape and rolls of rope. It's safe to say that Amanda didn't end up moving in, and she never looked for apartments on Craigslist again.